This first news story comes to us from Game Rant, written by Adiz Gunner. Sony may be working on native PS3 backwards compatibility. Rumor coming in hot. Sony could be working on a solution to make PlayStation 3 games natively playable on PS5 consoles, according to recent claims made by a reputable insider. Despite some of Sony's latest efforts to remedy this issue, the PS5's underwhelming backwards compatibility has been a consistent point of criticism for the otherwise impressive current-gen consoles, in large part because most games from previous PlayStation generations, sans the PS4 era, aren't playable on the PS5. If this rumor is to be believed, though, then Sony might finally fix one of the biggest flaws with its current hardware offering by providing native support for PlayStation 3 games on PS5.
We did it, boys. We made it.
We did it.
We're back.
Hopefully.
PS3 back on the menu, on the map.
Fingers crossed, at least. Although Sony does sometimes add ports of older PlayStation games to the PS Plus Premium Classic catalog. What a mouthful. PlayStation Now is nice, you know? Just PS Now is easy to say. Now it's PS Plus Premium Classics catalog. The PS5
you could just say PSN and we'll get it.
We'll get it. The PS5's backwards compatibility still leaves a lot to be desired. After all, the large majority of PS1, PS2, PS3, PSP, and PS Vita games are not playable on modern PlayStation platforms. In fact, titles from those console generations that can be played on Sony's latest hardware often come with caveats. For one, these classic games are only available digitally on the platform, meaning that the original physical copies of these titles aren't supported by the PS5. Additionally, in the case of PS3 games, gamers need to be persistently connected to the internet to play them on PS5, as they're only available via cloud streaming. While PlayStation owners might not be able to insert and run their PS2 disc on the PS5s anytime soon, they may soon have the _ability to play PS3 games on Sony's modern consoles without having to stream them through the cloud. That's at least according to the credible insider Special Nick, who alleged on the latest episode of the Xbox Era podcast that Sony is reportedly planning to make PS3 games natively playable on the PS5. The reputable leaker's sources apparently told him that Sony is working on select PlayStation 3 backwards compatibility for the PS5. The word select in this context seemingly indicates that Sony will individually handpick some PS3 titles to make playable on the PS5, similar to what Microsoft did with the backwards compatible games on Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S. When this was mentioned, a chat member from the live streamed podcast brought up the idea of PS3 games potentially having their frame rates and resolutions boosted on the PS5. However,
let's not get crazy. Hold on.
Yeah,
now.
right.
You're asking Sony to do a lot of work here.
Calm down.
All right.
However, when asked, Special Nick said that he wasn't exactly sure about the specifics. I didn't get any more details than that. Will it have an FPS boost? I've got no idea. All I heard was Sony was working on selective PlayStation 3 backwards compatibility. There are many great PlayStation 3 exclusives that are sadly still trapped on the 18-year-old console, like Infamous, Metal Gear Solid 4, and Killzone 2. All three of those are bangers. Oh man, if we could play those again, ooh-wee! Killzone 2, so good. Being able to play these games natively on PS5 would be a dream come true for many PlayStation fans. So hopefully this rumor does end up being true. Adrian.
What's up, my man?
There's a freaking jet flying over my house right now. It's so loud.
That's what you get living that SoCal lifestyle.
One moment, please.
I can't hear it on my end. I'm gonna have to take your word.
I know,
for
but the recording will definitely have it. Those podcast listeners are gonna be like, "What the heck is Garrett mowing his lawn while he's recording the podcast?" How
this is fantastic
news. Do you think this? I know it's good news, but do you think this is legit? I mean, supposedly this guy is a reputable leaker.
Now, if
what
it
else
was
has he
still,
leaked? That's what I want to know.
If it was still Jim Ryan era, I'd have probably said, "Ain't no way this is happening." But we got two co-CEOs that probably share very little with him, so I could see them as this one of their being one of their first acts of leadership is to start to invest in that. The only problem with that is, though, if you're going to do PS3 native, why wouldn't you say you're going to do PS2 native or PS1 native at this point? Those are easier, I feel like, to do than PS3. And you can say, yeah, they got a couple of things that you could download on the store, but I'm talking about let me put my PS2 disc in and essentially my PS5 turns into a PS2.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason they would start with PS3 is because for so long that has been the one that everyone's like, why isn't this available? You're right. PS2 and PS1 would probably be easier, but man, I feel like the freaking fanfare of when they announce, hey, guess what? These PS3 games, like people are gonna lose their minds. Like people would be excited about PS1 and 2, but PS3, I think that's probably if this is where they're starting, it makes sense because people are gonna be like, holy crap, PlayStation's turned over a new leaf. Like this is absolutely bonkers.
I don't know how
crazy.
to feel right now.
We never thought it was gonna happen, like, and here we are. That's the only reason I can think they would start with 3 is just from that point of view of like, all right, if they could really win people over with this. And my worry is so many like Sony is very much, they like this excuse. They use it all the time is, that initiative didn't, pan out quite as well as we thought it was going to, didn't get the results we were hoping for, make the money we thought it was going to. So, yeah, we're not gonna port any more PS3 games, and we're not gonna like that. Maybe they never do PS2 or PS1. That's my biggest worry with this whole thing. If this is real,
but I'm not asking them to port the games. I'm just asking them to make an emulator that I can play the games in. That's it. Make the thing that lets me play the game, and then leave it alone. I'm not even asking you to up-res or to increase the frame rates. Just let me play them the way that they originally ran, at least. But we're not even getting that.
But that's what the leak is saying, is basically just a select number of PS3 games are gonna like. So they're not porting it, but they're basically making an emulator that's specific to those games. So in a sense, they're porting it. Is what it sounds like. The fact that
why not make it universal? Let it run all the PS3 games.
I don't know why. It doesn't make.
That's what Xbox did.
Yeah. Well, Xbox started out with one-offs as well. They would kind of like, here's a batch of games, here's a batch of games. They kind of let it out in batches.
Right, but they still did it over time until they got pretty much the majority of the Xbox and 360 libraries. But if this is only going to be for like 10 or 12 games on PS3, then it's not even worth doing it.
And that's what I'm saying though. I think if it's successful, then they will continue to do it. But that's my worry is like, all right, what if they launch this? Everyone's stoked about it, but then like they look at the numbers like, it's not quite what we were hoping for, so we're not going to continue.
But they already went into this knowing that this is a project that they're not going to make money off, right? You're not going to sell the games per se. You're just letting people play the games that they already have.
Right.
Right.
Unless they're thinking of bringing back like classic games to the PSN store.
Boy. Like, you mean just like the way they've been doing it for PS2, all six of the games that they have on there?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, okay. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, Selkies in the chat says, I think they're looking at the emulation situation. PS and PS2 are easy to emulate, and no one would take advantage as much as they'd hope. That makes sense. So as far as I'm doing this for PS3 and not doing it for PS2 and PS1, it's easy to emulate PS2 and PS1 almost anywhere. Like it's kind of incredible now. Like
it's so easy. Why don't they do it?
Well, no, but that's I think the idea is like PS3 isn't available, so like for them to come in and almost be like the savior in a sense, like finally someone's figured it out. Like Sony themselves are doing it for PS3. Like this is going back to the beginning conversation of like why PS3 to start with. I think Selki's kind of nailed it with that. Where, yeah, if people want to play PS1 or PS2 games, they've already got most people already have their setups with emulators. They're probably going to stick with it for the most part. Obviously, you know, and again, they're not going to make money off of this. We've already said that. So why not start with the thing that isn't widely available and is going to get way more hype?
Fair. That's fair.
Selkies goes on to say, would almost feel like a waste of time and money for that matter. Yeah, exactly. To kind of do PS1, PS2. Obviously, I would hope they'd eventually do it, but
I don't see this as anything as I see it as more of an investment. Like if you told somebody, hey, this is PS5, right? Or later on, it'll be PS6, right? And you tell them, you know, hey, if you're a longtime PlayStation fan and you've still got your old games, any old game that you get will still work when you put it into your PS6. I see that as nothing but a win. It's not, is it going to make people buy the console? Absolutely not. But is it going to help sway your opinion? Who knows? Knowing that all the games that I bought, I can just pop them in and still play them as much as I want to. That's a huge deal. People got thousands of dollars invested in their game libraries, tens of thousands for some. So you telling me I could take it with me, no problems, no questions asked, as long as I have the disc? Let's do it.
Yeah, my hope would be as well for them to continue on and do all of them, because like one of the biggest hangups with the PS3 generation coming to other consoles in the future has been, their biggest excuse is like the architecture they built on was crap. It was like it's
unfortunately
stuck. Yeah, it was like it was the foundation of everything was bad from the beginning, and hard to work with, difficult to work with for developers. And so it would be incredible if they come out with a PS3, they come out with PS2, PS1, because at this point they've kind of come up with a standardized platform that is more usable, not even just on PlayStation, but anywhere. Like everything kind of used, like Xbox and PlayStation are all kind of using the same foundations nowadays. Everything's using the same architecture, similar CPUs, similar GPUs. So it's like, man, like if they were to go all in and design those things, they could potentially be set for the next couple decades. Like they could use that same emulator for in perpetuity, because it would just continue to work on the PS6, on the PS7, on the PS8 until architectures change, which they do occasionally. But I don't know, they found a good thing with the PS4 and they've stuck with it now for 2 generations. Why change now? Unless there's limitations that show up. Man, there's all the freaking air show happening outside my house.
Well, the 4th is close by, so they're probably just warming up for a stunt pilot shows. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's not such a bad thing to invest in, lay some goodwill groundwork and, get a project like that going. So hopefully it turns out to be true. I would love PS3 games to be natively playable. I told you when we were talking before the show, I said, if this turns out to be true and Sony formally announces it, I'll buy a disc drive that day. Because I got dozens of PS3 games that I would love to not have to pull out my 15-pound PS3 for.
Right.
And only have to use my 10-pound PS5 to play.
I know it's a long shot, but because at this point it's most likely a physical thing, like where you put in a disc and then it plays. But I would love, because I don't have a very big physical I only have one PS3 game physical. But man, my digital library was massive. If I could access that on my PS5, if my digital library came back, whoo baby, that would be insane. That's what I never know. I hope would come out of this as well. Not only do they allow physical games to be played, but the ability to access your PS3 digital library. Oh, it'd be so good. I have a feeling it's not the case, but they're gonna.
No,
if they brought back a digital library, they'd probably make me rebuy everything, which is stupid. But
it's just fun to dream.
It's fun to dream. Fun to dream. Thank you so much for watching that clip from our podcast. Remember, if you want to watch the whole episode, the full episode, link will be in the description below. You can click on that and check it out. We got listener questions. We got more news segments. We got what you playing. We got a lot of fun things. So yeah, more than just the news. There's a lot more to the show that you should go check out. So remember, click that link in the description. Check out that full episode.